Jorge Lorenzo's blockbuster switch to Honda has failed to deliver on the promise that it had so far. I'm joined by Lewis Duncan. What can we say about this situation? There's a million things that have added up to where we're kind of at with Lorenzo. We've had injuries, we've had Marquez doing a lot of the bike development, all this kind of stuff. So run us through the issues that Jorge has had so far this season.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare switch to Honda for Jorge Lorenzo. First of all, we should get out of the way that he has been injured since last September. Of course, he was involved in that collision with Marc Marquez in the first corner at Aragon, which of course, Lorenzo launched into a bit of a tirade about that, but he hasn't been fit for the last 10 months or so, and that affected his pre-season preparations. He missed the first pre-season test at Sepang because he re-broke his wrist. He's missed the last couple of races because he hurt his back in Assen, so it's been a really difficult season from that perspective, and that has hurt his adaptation process to the Honda. But we did expect it to be maybe a little bit quicker than what it was from when he switched from the Yamaha to the Ducati, because they are a bit more similar in that the Honda is quite an aggressive bike, so was the Ducati. Lorenzo was quite happy with it when he first tested it. He felt safer on the bike, was his comment in November, and he was quick in the November Jerez test as well. But it's just snowballed from there as development's gone on. The bike has gotten a lot more difficult to ride. Marquez has said this. Cal Crutchlow, the LCR rider, has been especially vocal about that. He said, this bike's just so much harder to turn than last year. And that's Lorenzo's key point. That's where he's won all the three of his world championships. It's been his corner speed ability. The fact he's not able to do that on the Honda has really hurt him. So that's really been the main key issue. You mentioned there the development issue. Marquez had to lead that because Cal Crutchlow was injured in the winter. Crutchlow himself has said, well, they didn't have me, so that's hurt things. And we know Marquez is such a unique rider. He's an alien, that's what he is, a unique rider. He can ride anything. He's riding the wheels off this bike and he's dominating the World Championship where he shouldn't be. And it's almost exacerbating Lorenzo's problems because it's making him look even worse than what he is. But we need to remember he is a 3-time world champion, and there are a lot of factors at play that are making this process of adapting to the Honda much harder.
So Lorenzo had quite a slow start to his Ducati career, but he's quite well known for developing that bike and doing a fairly good job of doing that. So can we expect something from the second half of the season? Is there anything that we know about Lorenzo that can tell us how well this development's going to go for the second half of the season, and if that's going to turn around, or does it look like we're pretty set with what he's got at the minute?
I think going forward to the rest of the season, it's going to be difficult for Lorenzo to make any kind of impact on sort of the podium battle, really. It would be a tall order to do so. You're right, he did develop that Ducati. On his 2017 was able to sort of get it to a position where he was a bit more comfortable, and then 2018 with some fuel tank changes he was able then to go on to win 3 races. And the Ducati is a better bike at turning this year, which has typically been its main issue, and that is in part down to Lorenzo's influence. So going into next year with hopefully with full fitness behind Lorenzo going into the pre-season phase, he can steer development a bit more in the direction to make that bike more user-friendly. Test rider Stefan Bradl has backed him to do that. And, Lorenzo, if there is anyone that's going to make a bike user-friendly, it is going to be Lorenzo. He's had that amazing style on the Yamaha where he just threw it into the corners and carried so much speed and was just devastatingly quick. And if you can do that with a Honda, that's going to be a real coup for them, because if they can give Marquez a bike that's really easy to ride and a bike that Lorenzo can find really easy to ride, that's going to be a dominant duo. But Lorenzo does need to focus now on getting fit and just getting happy on the bike, getting into a happy place mentally as well. If he can find that, then he can go into next year in such a better position than he is right now.
It looked like from the outside that Honda didn't have a whole lot of choice when it came to choosing Jorge Lorenzo for its lineup this year. It's not, it's never a bad choice to select a 3-time champion to join your lineup, is it? But also, it looked like he was pretty much their kind of main option, the one they had to go for. How quickly do they start to look at other options for this? We've talked about Valentino Rossi before and how he's likely to stay to the end of his contract. Lorenzo with the same contract to the end of 2020. So what do we think about Honda's situation at the minute? Are they going to be tempted to move him on and look at someone else, or is Jorge going to look elsewhere? What do we think about this situation at the minute?
You're right, Lorenzo wasn't Honda's first option. They spent the winter billing Marquez and Lorenzo as the dream team, but in reality they wanted Zarco, they wanted Mir, and they wanted Dovizioso. They couldn't get any of them, so Lorenzo was the last option. And if you think when Lorenzo was put onto the rider market. It was just off the back of a pretty difficult run of races at the start of 2018. It wasn't until he won that race at Mugello that these rumours of a Honda switch started to surface, and we all thought, oh wow, perfect timing. But the reality was there just wasn't the option. Zarco had signed to KTM pre-season. Mir had bagged his Suzuki spot pretty much already, and Dovizioso was keen to stay with Ducati. But you know, they committed to him, 2-year contract. They know Lorenzo isn't a scrub. He's a 3-time MotoGP world champion. It will come good. He proved that on the Ducati. We know what his tenure was like on the Yamaha. So they will stick with him for next year, partly because there aren't really any other options to replace him. But Lorenzo, they are beginning to lose a bit of patience, but Lorenzo will come good. I do firmly believe that. But looking forward to 2021, this bad season really won't do his prospects of staying with Honda beyond next year any good, because they will be looking elsewhere. They will be looking at the likes of Mir again. They will surely be looking at Quartararo. They'll be looking at other riders as well to try and get into the fold. So Lorenzo does need to come back in the second half of the season and put in some displays that hint towards a really good start to next year, and then maybe that'll secure his future. But he is in a very precarious position right now.
And retirement's been a rumour as well, hasn't it? So how likely do we think that is, and when could that come? You know, do you think we'll see him stay till the end of 2020 and then retire, or you know, could he even go longer than that?
Well, he admitted last year when options weren't looking so good that he did consider retiring. He said he was actually quite depressed about the whole situation. This rumour has come up again. I don't believe it, to be honest. You know, Lorenzo doesn't really shy away from a challenge, and this is his biggest challenge so far, so he will want to see this through if he gets the opportunity, which he will. I don't see Honda taking any option to cut his contract short. So Lorenzo, he'll continue on. What happens beyond next year is a bit of a mystery, but you have to suspect, even if he is dropped by Honda, there will be interest from somewhere, because it is Jorge Lorenzo after all. He is a 3-time MotoGP world champion. That is a fact we keep reiterating, but can't be overstated enough. You do not win championships in this series by accident.